This is the Amplitude and Ragnarok funnel vision, tracking the right metrics to accelerate growth. That's what I'm saying. You know, we're all about metrics and funnels. We're going to talk about a lot of fun stuff today. So go ahead and strap in and get ready for some good action here. So first thing, we like it when people participate. So we're going to line up a nice $200 gift card for you there to use as you please. So it'll be I think like a Visa gift card or something like that. So how do you enter in to win one of these? Well, pretty easily. You just, ask questions when questions are asked of you. And just by asking a question, you'll be entered to win. And at the very end of this, Nikki, who's our co-host here with me, will pull the winner and we will announce them at the very end. And you get a gift card and it'll be good. Alrighty. So let's dive right in. All right. So first off, hi, I'm Steven. This is a picture of me and me with a beard, good old COVID times here. So I'm a co-founder and co-CEO of Ragnarok. We are we're essentially a agency who helps our companies not only install and bring together MarTech tools like Amplitude and analytics tools, but we also help customers deploy them. We help create the actual campaigns and help them actually launch their analysis on the different programs that they are running inside their products as well. So we do quite a bit on the actual execution and engagement side as well as the installation side. So I've been doing this for over 10 years, 15 years now, however long, can't even remember. Been on the product side at several brands, came up in a CRM background as well. So, marketing, data analytics, products, it's all kind of in my background. And Ragnarok's been around for about 10 years now. So we've been doing this for a very, very long time. So what I have to say, hopefully has a little bit of weight to it. I do love cats. I'm at the office today, so there won't be any cats kind of jumping around on the video that there normally is, but I'm going to feel like I have this ducking motion just in case, I don't know, I spot one phantom cat kind of creeping in the background. And I have dogs too. So I love all animals, it makes it fun. And then I also really hate unfocused data stories. I like to, maybe it's the rambling in me, but I like to have a little bit of I like to feel like I've learned something at the end of this. So we're going to dive right into it. And there's going to be a lot of good stuff to learn. So hello. So first thing I want to do is I want to make sure that we're all kind of talking about the same thing when we talk about a funnel, because, there are funnels and then there are funnels, and when I say there are funnels, you have funnels, like marketing funnels, and you got things like beer funnels, where you're just chugging away or whatever liquid of your choice, right? It doesn't have to be a beer funnel. It could be a water funnel, that could be fun. Maybe, I don't know. They both seem kind of cruel. But when we talk about a funnel, we mean it's sort of a little bit wider at the top, kind of narrows down as it goes all the way through and eventually hits the bottom. So, this kind of concept of a funnel is kind of basic and sort of overused in marketing terminology. We're like funnel this, funnel that. When we really talk about a funnel, we mean a funnel with a bunch of holes in the side of it, just kind of leaking some stuff out there. Like if you were to pour water in it, it would kind of leak out on the sides here. And so we have this sort of, when we talk about marketing funnels, we mean sort of 4 different steps in the funnel that a user kind of goes through. And eventually they get out the bottom, which we call that holy grail, that conversion moment. So start at the top, you make your way down. Hopefully you don't fall out of the funnel. Remember, there's little holes in the side of that funnel. And then we end out at the bottom there. So sort of our 4, think of them as the sort of structures of the funnel here, right? We sort of start with that awareness step, right? And awareness is just I was baffing around on Facebook, checking out my feed, Instagram, TikTok, name your flavor, social media. I was talking to somebody, in real life, or I was having some sort of happy hour over Zoom. And, somebody mentioned something to me and I became aware of it, right? It's just that kind of moment when you first enter the funnel is you might not actually have a grasp on what it is that you're aware of. You just have an awareness sort of the back of your mind, right? Hey, good example that I'll use is kitty litter, right? I love cats. So obviously I buy cat litter, it's the part of having the cats that nobody likes. But, for the longest time, I bought the same cat litter over and over and over again, right? Because it's comforting. Also, Petco makes it easy to auto replenish the things that you need and doesn't really make you want to try new things. But, I kept seeing this ad when I was scrolling through my social media, and the ad was for this product of this new and improved cat litter. And I was like, well, we kind of use the same cat litter forever. I don't really like it, And so I was exposed to this and made me think. And that moment of like exposure and thinking can take a lot of different exposures, right? I mean, sort of the average is about 8 times. It could be 13 times. It just depends on how many times you're seeing it, where you're seeing it, and when your sort of thought process goes to say, I'm going to think about what this thing is. That's what happened, right? I moved from this sort of awareness phase, and I was kind of leaking out of this funnel. I became re-aware, and I leaked out, and re-aware, and leaked out, and then I finally went back in, and I didn't leak out this time, and I went to that interest phase. That interest phase was for me to say to myself, maybe I'll try out some new cat litter here. So I took a look. I clicked through the ad. The treasure thing of us marketers. We're always trying to help everybody out. So we'll click through your ads to help raise your conversion numbers. Team spirit here. And then I sort of looked at the site. I was looking at some of the copy. I was like, this looks interesting. It's got some cool scientific stuff to it. Don't really know what half these terms mean, but they sound really smart, and then I'm kind of going through and I'm like, all right, like I've kind of built this desire, like, all right, I think I'm ready to buy this thing. And so I'm moving a little bit further down in the funnel, moving into that desire phase, right? Like the content of what I'm looking at convinced me and has created a need, or I have created a need in myself for this product, right? Don't think anybody actually needs cat litter in their lives, but for me, it was, I was desiring. I was like, oh, I want to give this a shot. But of course, I'm in marketing, so I'm like, you know what? Let's get all the way to the cart. Let's just abandon, just in case they got like a little, 10, 20% discount they're going to throw my way in that abandoned cart email. So that's what I do. I desired it and I was like, well, we're just going to abandon here, see if something comes in. Something did come in, was not a discount, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to try it out anyway. It's like, even if there was a discount, like, would it really push me over the edge? I really want to try it. I really want to see it. And so I get past that action phase. I click through, I get to the billing page, and then bam, I'm at the bottom there. And I converted, I bought. And so you can kind of see that when we talk about a funnel, this is what we mean. These sort of 4 kind of core steps that you go through in a sort of psychological change that occurs when you take this sort of awareness, bring it into sort of an interest. Then from there, sort of it becomes desirable for you, or you have this need for it, and then you act on that need. And so that's our definition of a funnel here. I just want to make sure everybody's aligned with that. So that being said, there are different ways that we can look at funnels, right? So let's say, a funnel can also has a lot of steps into it. So if those are the overarching pieces, let's take a simple brand. Let's take a brand here like Digit. Digit's a savings app, and they have, everything that they do is through their app. So they don't really have like a sort of website for it. You have to go through their app. And so, maybe I go to digit.co, I click the sign up button, it forces me to scan a QR code, or maybe I go through an ad directly. I sort of have different points of entry into the funnel. So think of awareness as everything kind of on the left-hand side of this. And then here I'm kind of at this like interest and whatnot. I download the app. Now I'm kind of getting more into this desire phase, right? All right, well, I'm really interested. Let me go through this app. I now have to take these actions to actually complete the funnel itself. And so I download, I open it, I tap get started, I write some things in there. And at each point of the steps, I can leak out. And maybe I come back and maybe I don't. And this is sort of the part of the marketing funnel and analytics funnel that we really kind of want to look at and hone in on, because this is a strong part that we can control. Right. I mean, the awareness piece, we can, send as much as we can out there into the nether and really kind of hope and do some sort of optimization to make sure that people see it and that they become interested in it. We can sort of influence people to have a little bit more desire into it. But at the end of the day, we need them to actually click the buy button or the sign up button or whatever our converting action is. This is kind of the part of the funnel that we really want to drive people through. So we can also have really long and complex funnels, right? So let's talk about something with Lively. Lively is a company that makes hearing aids. And they have like a crazy sort of complex funnel because they're dealing with medical devices. So, a little bit more complicated in general. Also, they deal with a older crowd, generally people who are a little bit older, not as proficient with the internet, with machines. And so they have, a high volume of people who go through the 1-800 number, as well as their website. And when they go through either path, either they're sort of filling out a quiz that's like 10 steps long because they have to really qualify for it before they're even eligible to buy the product. Or if they call the 1-800 number, there's somebody who's sort of speaking them through all the quiz questions. There's some steps in there that's like education moments and stuff like that. It's not all just raw like yes, no questions. And if they do qualify, then they have to go and take a hearing test to make sure that the device itself can actually support to sort of fill in their gap in the hearing loss. And so they go through, they take this test, and then they have to talk to a doctor, and then they can finally purchase it, right? So there's so many steps as part of this. So it's pretty easy for somebody to leak out, but they sort of make up for that by having a more expensive product, right? So a lot of this comes down to, some of the things that might be part of the funnel. If they're long and complex, you can't really control that. Sometimes your pricing has to kind of influence the fact that you're not going to get as many people to convert. Whereas in a simple funnel, if you have a little bit more, you can sort of heat a little bit more volume. You can sort of use that as part of your measure to say, can I be a little bit cheaper? Can I be a little bit more competitive in the space compared to a longer funnel? You're like, I'm dealing with people who have to have a lot of intent to get all the way down here. And so these are just a couple of examples of what funnels kind of look like visually. So that being said, I'm actually going to create a funnel with you. So in order to do this, I'd love for everybody who's here to just kind of drop into the chat either your brand or website that you'd like me to create the funnel for, or maybe a brand that you like that you want me to create a funnel for. I'm more than happy to do anything. Again, this is not one of those like I recorded it 3 months ago in my basement type scenarios. Like I'm going to do this for you live right here. It's going to be magical. We're going to be having some boxes and arrows. And if you enter in your information, of course, that means you qualify for the gift card. So, just a little bit of incentive there for you. So I will just wait for some folks to put some items in there, and then we'll take a look. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. I'm going to do the old random number generator of 1 through 5. That's right. It's my favorite Google tool, random number generator, little RNG. So between 1 and 5, and I get 1. All right. So who's number 1 here? Let's see. This is Card Curator. All right. Let's take a look at you. Big winner on the selection here. Okay. So Card Curator. Wow, this is neat. Okay. So boost your credit card rewards with Card Curator. And we've got a little exit intent there. I like that. Got to download the mobile app. All right, so let's go ahead and let's go through this process together. And while we do this, we're going to go ahead and build the conversion funnel at the same time. So let's say my entry point here is word of mouth. I was at some random webinar and somebody was like, hey, you should check out this site. I was like, okay, I'll check this out. All right, so I go here. I'm going to go through my learn more experience here. All right, so let me go ahead here. I'm just going to put a note here. Start at, so user lands on cardcurator.com. All right, sweet. Okay, so here's how it works. Let's take some reading here. I'm going to set goals, get automatic recommendations to help them accomplish them. All right, I like some goals. Got some goal setting in here. A little bit of security, or very secure. Bam, bam, bam. All right, I see a button here. I'm going to click it because I'm a individual here that I like to click buttons. Okay, so now I have to download the app. All right, so looks like we're going to have a little bit of a unique screen share here. So let me download this on the App Store, and then I will share my phone. I probably have to tether it really quick. Oh, I like a good challenge here, though. All right, so Card Curator. Hopefully nobody texts me while I'm doing this, Should probably put the focus mode on. All right, so I'm going to download that. So here we go. We've got I land on the site, and then I have to sort of download the app, right? The next step is to download the app is the requirement here. Okay, so I go here. Then I have this sort of delay step. This is something I can't control here, right? This is the downloading step, right? Can't do anything about that because when I'm downloading, I have to wait for the app to finish downloading, and it looks like it's still going. It's almost there. It's giving me some nice progress there. Thank you, Apple. Okay, maybe I could spell that correctly. And then afterwards, I'm going to do this step where I'm going to open the app, right? And so here we've got open app. So I'm kind of going through a bit of a movement here, a little bit of a sort of psychological shift as I'm going through this because I have to wait a little bit. So now let me change my screen share really quick so we can go through the rest of this. I'm at the Card Curator. This is the start of the app here, right? Got some good stuff in here. Do a little swipe of Rooskies here. Maybe I'll go ahead and hit the free there. Oh, all right. Let me slow down there. All right. So let's hit free. Wants me to add a new card. Okay. Well, let's do other here, just so I don't have to add an actual credit card. Oh boy, a lot of options here. All right. Well, probably don't have a useful one here. Okay. So let's go to Chase. Let's say I'm on a. Wow, I didn't realize there were this many Chase products available. So I go to my Sapphire. I hit done. All right, so I'm just going to take a couple of quick notes here so we can add this to our funnel here. So I select card, or I select a free or premium, and then I do my card selection. Let's go back here. Let's choose a category. I don't know. Well, I got a trip coming up, so maybe I'll do airfare here. This is good. Add the rest of your cards. Huh, okay. Maybe not. Okay, so to get the most accurate credit card, please allow Calculator access your location. Sure, you can access my location. Here I am. Oh my goodness, is that where you are, Steven? You're right there in New York? Oh, I guess you can't see that screen. Okay, great. So here I am. So I've got some cards in here. They want me to add more cards, so I'm starting to get an idea of what the conversion goals are here. I go ahead and hit the learn more button. Oh, I got a premium. I definitely want some of that premium there. Okay, so that's probably what the goal is here. So I go ahead and I open that up. I can see that I've got some options in my card here. I see that I've got some recommendations on other cards that I should be looking at here. And then of course I can add more cards. Looks like I've got some options here in my settings, but more or less it looks like what I'm trying to drive you to is to sort of try the premium service. Okay, cool. So let's check one more thing here just to see what's good. It's like pressing buttons here. I'm sure the person who put this recommendation is like, wow, this guy presses buttons a lot. Very true. All right, let's go ahead and go back to our funnel here. Okay, so now that we had an idea to see what it was, we sort of had this option here, right? We could choose free or premium, right? Obviously, we want people to go to premium, but let's just kind of start with the free or premium here. All right, that's a decision tree here. Are you free? Are you premium? So we like to use a nice little diamond for that. Let's say you select free. Okay, and then the first thing I have to do is add a card, right? So I select my card that I add. My first impression here, by the way, was I was going to have to enter my credit card number, but really just wanted me to select a card, which is pretty cool. So here I will say, so it's like find your credit card, or I guess your card, and then we have like choose your category. All right, and then at the end there, it was something like. So there's like kind of like explore your card. I could also do things like explore other cards. And then I could do things like, which is the final conversion point here, which is investigate, I'll call it premium service. Okay. So you've kind of got a lot of different options here once you get to this step here. But this sort of, and I'll come back to this in a second, by the way, but we have a lot of different sort of funnel options here of what a user can go through just as part of that funnel. And you can see it's actually pretty simple to build a funnel, right? I mean, literally what I'm doing is I'm just looking at the entire experience and kind of saying like, hey, I can see these things, I can see that thing. And so if I put them all together, I can kind of build this sort of funnel of what this looks like. And so now what I'll do is I'll start to actually categorize this, right? To say, hey, which part of these, if I go back to my funnel here, which part of these is which part of these is awareness and interest, desire, and action, right? So here, awareness, it's probably something over here. Maybe I came in saw an ad on Facebook or something like that, right? Then I land here. So now I have I'm generating interest here, right? I'm seeing this, and maybe something that's compelling to me on here as I'm going through is to say, oh, I can get more rewards. Okay, well, reward sounds good. I like money. And I can get 5 to 10% more. All right, I'm liking that. I'm developing some interest here, and so we sort of have this concept here of in this sort of step here, we're developing that interest out. So I'm just going to make a little annotation here to note that this is where the interest is happening. Then we're kind of going through this sort of second step, this third step, which is desire. I want it, right? And in order to want it, I have to download the app. So here I'm moving into kind of my desire phase. There's going to be some nuances to this, right? This is just sort of the baseline here. Then I go to my download, and then here I'm going to my action, right? I'm opening the app and I'm getting ready to go, baby. There we go. Okay. So we're going to come back to this in a second on how we're going to add or append this with some more information, but I just kind of want to sit this with you right now to see building a funnel is pretty simple. All you got to just go through the experience and see what the possible paths are. Right. And I'm sort of summarizing a lot of steps here, but if I were to do this in a little bit more detail, I'd look at things like, oh, did they spend enough time on this page to actually understand and develop interest for? Are they just kind of clicking through because they see nice buttons? Did they go to my blog? Did they go to my about page? There's a lot of stuff in here that can sort of generate a lot of interest, especially in that interest phase before they actually do that desire action of downloading the app. All right, so let's go ahead and let's take it back through the to the rest of the thing here. And thank you, by the way, for sharing all of your stuff here. I appreciate that. Okay, so let's talk really quick about attribution piece of this, right? So I sort of went through and I built a funnel with you. You can kind of see what that process looks like. But now let's talk about like how do you actually like attribute where that funnel came from, right? So in this case here, like you become aware, right? Your sort of first credit, like, hey, I learned about, I learned about Cart Curator because I was on some rando webinar and some guy who was presenting was like, wow, I'm going to check this out because I did a random number generator and it was all just so random. But this is sort of my awareness phase. Or, if I'm doing sort of my puppy analogy here, I was on the Instapups and I became aware of this thing because my friend Jimmy was posting about it on the Instapups. And because I'm friends with Jimmy, I went and I was on my puppy book, Facebook, or I guess it's now called Puppy Meta. I don't even know anymore. And I was on my pause feed and I clicked it. So now I'm showing some interest, right? I moved from awareness where you might not have a whole lot of attribution, but you can get it by doing things like surveying people and talking to your customers in real life, right? Because it's really, otherwise people are going to be like, I don't remember. It was like the 8th time you told me about this thing. And then I finally took action, right? So you have to kind of dig in a little bit more about where that awareness came from. Then let's say they told us who they were. Okay. So like, I put in my email address somewhere. As I was going through, I clicked through the site and then they were like, hey, I can win this free set of doggy rain boots, right? Or I could sign up or I could give them my card information, right? It all kind of goes to the same thing where I'm giving some information about myself, right? Then maybe I'm getting some type of retargeting. I gave them that information so now they can use it. And so in this case of my example here, if I have doggy treats that come free with every bag of food, so I bought some food because, you always need dog food, especially if you have dogs, that, always running low. Dogs like to eat. And so I saw that I got this offer in my email. So I clicked through and then I bought something, right? But you can see there's a lot of different sort of things that attributed to my conversion, right? It's not just like, hey, I saw an email and then I clicked through it. Like, no, I had to get there first. I had to give you my email, you didn't just like show up at the door and there it was. And very few people just come to things directly, right? We're not all like faffing around on Google saying, let me type in doggyfood.com and see what shows up. That doesn't really happen anymore. It's not like 1991 anymore, right? So there's this sort of need for us to attribute sort of each part of the funnel as we go through so that way we're giving credit where it's due and we can optimize those different sources based on how much they're contributing to the final conversion. So historically, people were like, last click, right? It's easy. We have, straight attribution for it. There's a UTM parameter often. That means give a lot of stuff to email. But email or push or SMS, just one small part of the, it's the last mile. It's the guy in the truck driving it to your house, but there's so much more that goes into getting that package or that awareness to you. And so this is where you're going to want to really kind of drive a lot more of your sort of attribution in the funnels just to make sure that you have an understanding of where that stuff comes from. And there's a lot of ways to get it, right? Things like UTM parameters, using surveys, capturing the information, calling customers, asking customers, like all of this will help you kind of develop a bit more of that story. And of course, you have tools like Amplitude that sort of automate a lot of this process for you as well, just simply by installing their SDK. Okay, so I want to also show you this thing we have here, which is this is a tool, right? We're going to give this away to you. It's an attribution measurement report. And one of our analysts on our team here, Kate, actually put this together. And essentially, we send this deck to you afterwards. You'll be able to access it. But simply just make a copy of this, and you'll be able to access it to your heart's content. But we built out all of these like different like this is a very automated sheet. Basically, what you can do is you go in and you can like fill stuff in, so you can actually plan where each of your different sources of acquisition are coming from. So let's say you don't have a tool like Amplitude or any way to automate this. This is a nice way for you to actually be able to generate reports that can actually help you gain a little bit of insight. So think of this on like a yesterday, week to date, last week. Like, yeah, it's a lot of manually filling it out, but you can add in some of the different numbers here, and it'll give you instructions on how to do that here. And it all kind of rolls up into these summary reports that you can use to sort of determine, where should I be spending my time? And so think of this like I have my branded search, my non-branded search, my paid social, my Facebook and Instagram, retargeting and Pinterest and LinkedIn. There's so many stuff on here, right? And you don't need to use all the rows. You can just fill in the ones that you're actually using. But hopefully this will be a good starting point for you to start to fill things out. And again, you can also enter in Again, there's pretty clear instructions on where to enter things in here, but it's really a tool for you to use if you want to just start getting in the process of actually putting a bit more attribution together without needing to sort of set up a whole system for it. So it's a really good stepping stone. Or if you have something like this, and you're just like, wow, I really like the branding and the stuff you put together, feel free to steal that as well, right? I mean, it's all yours. It's out there in the free. I want to talk a little bit about milestones and checkpoints, right? So when we talk about milestoning, what we mean is like, again, we sort of have this move from awareness to interest, desire to action, right? There's like this significant like, ooh, I got to like change my psychological thinking here. I got to make a significant change in my behavior to get there, right? Like it's one thing to say, oh, I can go to a website, right? Everybody's just kind of like browsing websites and stuff like that. That's not hard. That's a normal behavior. It's another thing to say I have to download an app because there's always that like scratch your head when I'm like, do I really want this? It's on my phone, it's my phone. And I want to share it with these app people here, like there's always that sort of intense moment where you like have to make a decision, right? And then let's say that doesn't really pan out. You're like, oh, well, maybe I'm just going to leak out here, right? But that's a milestone. If I can get you to download the app, I know you're somewhere further along than somebody who came to that screen and said no, right? Like there's definitely a different level of intent, and it's no now, but they can change their mind, right? And that's what we can also sort of see where they drop off as ways to determine, how do we get them over the hump? How do we get them through that milestone? So let's take our example here of our friends over at Car Curator. Okay. So I saw my ad on Facebook, right? First time. Can't control this that much. I could just only spend more and do more optimization and whatnot, but I can't control you scrolling on your feed, right? Not really that's Facebook's problem. Okay. So I get to the point where you land on curator.com. Here I can control things, right? Here I can build interest for you. So this is going to be my first milestone. So we're going to start the process here. Then let's say, I'm going to add another step in here. Even though it's not required, I think that we should add in a little bit more here to sort of showcase like exploring the site. So we'll call this like explore the site. Okay. So here, I'm going to kind of put this in the same milestone category, right? Because it's not that significant of a change for somebody to go from here to here, right? It's just clicking around. I think at this point, though, when we go to the desire, this is where we're sort of having a new milestone here, because now we've taken somebody who has gone from an interest and has taken a significant action to actually download the app. Okay. Opening and download the app, not too hard, right? They're all kind of part of the same theme there. But then when I get to this part here, I'm in the app and I'm deciding for your premium and I'm going to add a card. Like that's where I'm like, oh, okay, they're asking something of me. I mean, obviously you got to give something to get something, right? But it's a different change. It's a significant change here. So here I would sort of set this as my third milestone. And I would say, okay, finding credit card, choosing category, that's not too hard, right? All this stuff is sort of all part of that same theme because I'm sort of looking at the card and I've given a card away. So now I'm already kind of in this mindset of thinking about credit cards. Last step here, right? Investigating the premium service. This is the significant step change because now I'm going from, I was just adding things and playing around with this tool to now I have to think about giving it money and seeing what more benefit I can gain from that. And so here's where I would want to sort of set my sort of last milestone here. So you can kind of see the transition of the effects here, right? I have a little bit of interest. I'm browsing around, pretty low risk. I'm on a website. I then download. I'm pretty interested. It's a pretty big milestone for me to be able to click that button, put some space on my phone, let you into my life. Then I'm at this kind of point of like, oh, I'm browsing around. I'm checking things out. Like, okay, open the app, right? I mean, there's so many people who download apps, don't ever open them. So even that's just a big step just to open it. But, we'll kind of condense that into the same thing as the desire or as download the app. Then I actually go and actually tap things. I don't just abandon it right away. I don't just see the screen. I'm like, not my design flavor, and I'm gauging a little bit. And then I'm finally getting into the final step here, which is investigating the premium service. Then I go into the conversion. So you can see that easiest way to set milestones is just to think about it yourself, of to say, is this a significant change? And, you got to take your marketer hat off, maybe put on your consumer hat, or take your analytics hat off, put on your consumer hat, and just kind of think about what is this requiring of me? Is this requiring more effort? And really just, you can just do it that way. You don't even like a lot of things can be bunched into the same milestone, and you can say to yourself, well, it's not really that different. I'm not really asking them to do a significant behavior change. Like if I'm asking them to click things, and it's not that different, I'm just asking them to click more things. But maybe if I'm asking them to click too many things, I can break that down into different milestones. So here, if I have I want them to explore like 4 pages of the site before they download the app. Well, then I might break that down into different steps because there might be a significant change if there's a lot of text to read or sort of information to collect as part of that. We've got funnels. A part of funnels, we have the steps that a person goes through to get to the bottom of the funnel and where they leak out. Then we have the milestones. What are those like major behavioral, significant behavior changes that they go through in order to actually make it all the way through? And use those as points of focus, right? I can change things in this area because I control them, right? As the marketer or as the product person or as the analytics person, I can see these as opportunities to improve. But the things I can't control, I can't control. I can't control people sort of setting up or logging into Facebook. Okay. Last thing I want to round out with here is we built a funnel. We know the steps of the funnel, but now how do we actually like tell people about what we built? How do we communicate it effectively with our executives, with our stakeholders, with whoever? Like, how do we get people to actually like value what we're putting in here, right? So the couple of tips, right? And then I'll sort of show a real demo of like what this looks like, right? So first off, your interest from executives is really a lot of it you control in the way that you build alignment with them, right? Or your stakeholders or anybody, right? If you really want people to get excited about things, then you can control a lot of that by sort of getting them hooked in how you came to where you arrived. So there's a couple of pieces about this. One, you really want to communicate methodology, right? How did you arrive here, right? Where was you? Where did you start? How did you get there? How did you validate your approach? Why did you even try to do it in the first place? That's really the kind of most important step to start with, because it tells you and it tells the people who you're reporting to say, oh, I see you actually put thought into this. You're not just like throwing some numbers in there. It goes into a blender and then like you spit out something because you got all that big brain smart stuff, like you really got to like help guide people about how you arrived here. And this is why, you have big sort of science communicators out there in the world who really kind of help do this stuff, like a Neil deGrasse Tyson or somebody like that, who are like really good at this step, right? Like really good at communicating how we got here. And they really break it down for sort of the everyday person so you can understand like really kind of complex things that are happening out there in the universe. Same thing with your reports as well, right? There's a lot of folks who don't come from an analytics background or come from a very sort of specific discipline. And it's really helpful for them to get a little bit more grasp on how did you approach this. Second thing is natural reading order, right? Like nobody just likes to see the bam executive support, bam chart, bam this. It's like so much stuff. It's information overload. So what you really want to do is like reading an interesting book is like writing an interesting report, right? Like you want to make sure that it's got a nice natural reading order. You got some nice division of things. You're kind of helping people sort of see how you arrived at that conclusion and leading them there, right? Lead the horse to water. And the last thing here is there's nothing that people like to do more than point out faults and jump to conclusions and be like, we have a whole industry based on that. It's called reality TV. So in order to avoid that trap, what you really want to do is contextualize and add labeling and help to avoid sort of misinterpretation of what your results are. Easiest way to do that is just to make sure that you annotate and you label things correctly. So let me go ahead and I want to show you what this looks like, right? So I'm pulling this up inside of Amplitude, which again is a tool for sort of analytics, marketing folks, product folks to really kind of measure funnels and to be able to like write in reports and things like this, so we can actually like share the results that we have with our stakeholders. And Amplitude has a really, really awesome feature here called notebooks. And it's like kind of one of the lesser known features of Amplitude, but it's one of the most powerful ones in my opinion, because, I can make all the charts and dashboards I want, but if only I'm seeing it and my analytics team's seeing it, nobody else is seeing it, it's not really useful, right? And so this allows me to do things that are useful and to share it around. So I wrote this up. And in this example here, without you even knowing what brand I'm talking about, you should hopefully understand what it is that I'm sort of writing about, or at least have an understanding of what this test was, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and just do this in a little presentation mode here. So let's say, okay, so first off, I ran this test through a period of time, right? That's the most important thing. Remember that you write this report now, and then like 3 years from now, after you've long left the company, somebody else is coming in here and they're looking at your stuff and they're like, I don't know, I mean, were they really that good? I mean, this is like a legacy preservation right here. You want to make sure you orient them to the fact that you were doing this in a time period where this was the right thing to do, right? So make sure you date your report, right? Most important thing. I know it's like not writing your name on your SAT, right? Just put that date in there. Preserve that legacy. Okay. So this test that we ran was all about moving email collection. I have a flow, I have a funnel, and in my funnel, I would have email collection in step 3, and I wanted to put it in step 1. And the reason that I did that is because I sort of saw in the, that all of my email traffic was converting at a higher rate than people who were just kind of coming to the site. And I was like, all right, well, this is great. Maybe if I collect more emails, I can actually drive more conversion. So I use this sort of scoring method to evaluate this called ICE. ICE is a pretty standard scoring method here, not ICE, not the bad guys. ICE, which is impact, confidence, and ease. And what this does is this is just a way for sort of people to kind of gut check using a little bit of sort of statistics and a little bit of science to sort of have a methodology of rating, is this thing better to do than something else, right? So I have I think my impact was I would have drove almost 2.5% more incremental. I had a low confidence because I wasn't really sure if I'd scare people off because I had a little bit further down the phone. I'm moving it up. I mean, they're going to get through. And then it was a little bit easy, right? I was like, oh, I could just leverage existing content. Okay, great. So, I go through this, and my goals, initially was just to drive that lift, right? But the really important thing here is that you always put your learning objectives, right? Again, remember that part of this reporting is to preserve your legacy and to help people understand, like, what are you trying to learn, right? And you shouldn't just do things to learn. I mean, you can do things to learn if you can afford it, but really, I mean, a lot of your stuff should do is to really actually have an impact on the business, especially if you want to build confidence in what you're doing, is that the stuff that you're doing is actually having an impact on the business. So here in this case, I put a few different learning objectives. Here's what I want to learn. Is our conversion funnel pliable? If I move things, does it change the experience, or is it kind of set in stone? Does email marketing and social retargeting actually lead to more conversion? If I introduce more people to it. And then I wanted to clarify, if I add email earlier on, do I add more friction to the conversion funnel, right? So this was sort of a way for me to validate this. So again, I placed my methodology into here. Amplitude has some built-in A/B testing capabilities, so I leveraged that as part of my test. I sort of talked about, when I launched and when I ended, and why I ended when I ended. It's because I reached statistical significance, 95% confidence interval, or p-value of 5, or 0.005. Sorry, 0.05, 5%. Okay, so then I ran this test, right? And as part of this test, I saw that I had here I have my, so here in the blue, I have my test group. Here I have my control group, right? I can kind of move through here and I see, okay, I'm getting relatively the same path here on the landing screen, but I can see here that my test group is signing up. I'm actually getting less signups. Well, I mean, I'm getting less overall, and I'm actually getting less conversion compared to my control group. And so what this tells me is a couple of things. One is, all right, well, I'm driving more conversion for my control group, so clearly this test failed. By the way, most tests fail, right? You got about a 15% success rate, 12 to 15% success rate across the industry for people who run A/B tests. So, expect a lot of failure, but if your successes are good, they definitely win you a lot of money. And then, the last thing I'm going to want to do here is I'm going to want to say something, right? Like, okay, well, I put the results in here. I put my methodology, I put my learning objectives. All this is like the set in stone stuff, right? So the last thing I'm going to want to do, and this is what I like to call the opinion piece, right? Like, what did I feel about this? How do I feel about this test I just did? I put so many people's time into this thing, right? It's not just me, the analytics person or the marketer or the product person proposing it. Somebody's got to put some engineering work into it. I gotta actually write this up. It's a lot of people's time to do this stuff. So how do I feel about it? Was it worth it? And so I like to always add this other sort of section in here that I like to say, was it worth it? And this is a great way for you to self-reflect, not only for your own purposes, but also for the people who are going to read this, to tell them, honestly, after I ran this is how I feel about it. And it's important. And again, this is a thing that you won't see on a lot of reports, but yet it's something that's so important. And things I would say in this case where I learned a lot of interesting things. and I mean, I'm just kind of writing a little bit of fluff there, but it's nice, right? I like a nice natural reading where, we want to kind of engage people. Like it's like reading a good book. So I learned a lot of interesting things. And, the most important of this was that collecting email earlier is not as effective as having it little caps action there, as having it in step 3. And you're like, wow, Steven, you mistype a lot. Yes, I do. I'm like a terrible, I type too fast for my own good there. Okay, so I've got all this. I'm like writing a little bit, and then I'm like, well, why was that worth it? Why did it matter that, like, why is that important, that moving email step 3? What I can say is this helps me rule out that step of moving email, and I can now focus on other tests in the funnel to see if they have an impact. So what I can do is I can basically say, for now, I'm going to rule out email. I'm going to leave that alone. And that's important because that's a huge step in the funnel, right? To me, that's a milestone. Somebody giving me their email is like a milestone for me. And I'm like, right now, that milestone is good. I'm going to leave it there. Okay, maybe I might move it later. I might test a little bit later, but it tells me that I need to work on a different milestone. And so now I can put a little bit more focus and energy towards that. So with that being said, I just sort of write that there. And then that would sort of end my report, right? And then I submit this up. I walk my executives through it or my stakeholders, and I kind of build that alignment across the board. When you build your conversion funnel, remember the first thing you want to do is actually start with that point of conversion. How do I go through that sort of 4 steps, awareness, interest, desire, action, and then I convert, right? But I got to start from the bottom, build my funnel up. And then I determine my attribution. Where is all the stuff that fills the funnel coming from? Where's that water going? Where's that beer filling the top of my funnel? Where's it leaking out? Then I sort of look at that funnel and I look at it and I say, which of these steps are considered huge behavioral changes? And then I sort of tag those. And then I measure those milestones individually. Then I can do some testing. I can tell the story. And then I can take meaningful action, actually improve those parts of the funnel. All right. So I'm going to kind of open it up to some Q&A here. We actually have one question already in here, so I'll start with, can Amplitude's predictive cohorts add value to a conversion funnel? Yes. The way that predictive cohorts work here is it's sort of bucketing different users based on patterns of behavior that it's seeing. So if you think about like people as they move through different sort of milestones that you tell, not Amplitude can assume, but you can also tell them, it has a way to sort of group people together based on different behaviors that they have. So it could be things like different attributes about where they came from. Do they share similar sources? Do they share similar patterns? Are they all viewing 3 pages? Are they all viewing 4 pages? Which pages are they viewing? So that sort of allows you to build a bit more of this sort of predictive cohort. And so if you knew who those cohorts were and when they were tagged, you could have Amplitude give you that information when a person reaches the next milestone. And based on that cohort converting at a certain rate compared to other cohorts, you could change the experience downstream for them. So let's say that, if I'm going to use my example from what we looked at earlier, which is the, what is it called? A cart curator. Okay. So, if I see people, I'm going to create, 2 random buckets here that Amplitude has determined to me. I have readers. So people who are spending maybe 5 minutes on the site before they download. And then I got the button clickers, and they're sort of going through right away. What I can see is for the button clickers, I might change when they open the app what they see. And I might drive a little bit more education there or emphasize the value first, because I know the readers would have actually gotten the value or would have understood and written in the value compared to the button clickers. So that's some ways that I can use that to be a little bit more actionable. And then a question from Sherwin here, can a funnel produce another funnel? Sure. I mean, you always see those kind of fun little Rube Goldberg machines where you got funnels going into funnels, and if you really wanted to kind of devise things that way to having separate points of conversion, because really a funnel is just to a conversion point. But realistically, you want your funnels to be a little bit more, you want them to be the single most important point of conversion, and everything along the way is being more of a milestone. So I would always recommend one funnel. Okay. What feature in a funnel analysis would you use to identify users who complete a conversion faster than others? What about slower than others? So the a couple of things here. So one, you always have time from start to finish. Again, there's a lot of things that you don't know, like how long did they spend in the awareness steps. But what you could always do is look at that first point of entry and do a days to conversion on them. So Amplitude has some automation in this that it can actually help you see that, and it's kind of built into the tool, which makes it really useful for that type of analysis. But you can also do this manually as well. If you're tagging the users on that first session and you collect some information about them, say their email or something that you can tie back to their conversion, you can timestamp that point there, and then you can look at the timestamp of the point that they converted. And then you can sort of see what that gap was. You can sort of average it out and you can see, all right, well, let's look at people who spent more time or did more events of looking around or spending more time to reach the milestones versus the ones that didn't. And that's the easiest way to identify them. Now, when you have that information, what's the most actionable thing you can do with it is what is the representation of that pool and where's the average kind of fit in and where are the extremes, right? So do I actually see a lot of people, in my estimation, it should take somebody 50 minutes to get through my funnel. Some people are like, oh, it should take 5 minutes to get through my funnel, right? It's actually not that hard. But if I see the average time in my 5-minute funnel takes 3 days because there's so much back and forth, that to me is informative to say, okay, how many people are actually completing it at 5 minutes at my estimate? And I find it's a very, very small percentage. But I see on the higher end, I see more distribution on the higher end, right? So I'm seeing like 5 days or 6 days on the higher end compared to 5 minutes. That's a pretty big spread. But if the average is 3 days, what I would sort of say to myself is, okay, well, what milestones are people getting hung up on? Is it that they're always coming back on an email that I sent a couple of days later? Can I move that email up? Can I now send it 2 hours later instead of 1 day later? Maybe an hour later? Can I experiment with that? Can I do a little bit more aggressive push? There's a lot of different things that I can experiment with to see if I can drive down that to get them to the point where I think they should be, how long it should take them to get through the funnel. Or, the most fearful thing, are they looking at competitors? Are they looking at other companies? And are they going to buy Calculator from somewhere else? You want to make sure that you grab them there. Okay. And then I think we're a little bit close to time here. I really want to get to the winner. So I'll take one more question here. I got a chat and a Q&A. Very, very awesome. Okay. So I got one here from Joanna. What is the best funnel configuration KPIs for subscription-based businesses that do not have an app? Excellent. Okay, so for subscription-based business, again, depends on what you're selling. But ultimately, if I were to do the configuration for that, I would say probably want to start it at the point of awareness, interest, all this sort of normal stuff. But as we get down to more the nuances of subscription, I would want to look at things like, annual versus monthly. How does that pricing structure differ? You see a lot of funnels these days in there where they have sort of the annual rate of, I don't know, what is it like? It's like 10% savings or 15% savings compared to the monthly rate. And they'll do some kind of monthly comparisons to show you how much you would have paid a month, but you're actually paying it for the year. So I would say that's one thing that I would look at a little bit more, is that sort of step there of choosing a term of the subscription. And then for the rest of the configuration, I would want to look at things like I would probably even want to move my funnel past the point of conversion to completing their first month, because I want to sort of look at people who maybe leaked out after they bought the subscription and immediately canceled. You've done that with your Amazon Prime for your subscription to Stars and everything else. You could watch that one movie that you wanted to watch. Well, that might be a good way to sort of have your funnel actually end after the first month of rebilling, or after the trial rebilling, because it really kind of helps you sort of see a little bit more leakage in the funnel. You could address that more directly. So just kind of move the goalpost a little bit further along. All right, excellent. First off, thanks everybody for coming, for hearing me ramble, for getting my little dance on here. I hope you guys really enjoyed looking at a guy who is business on bottom and boy band at the top here, with my headset and all that. But I want to announce the winner. So Nikki has pulled the winner. It is somebody named Amy. Amy is the winner. Woohoo! All right. Snaps for that. Amy, please email me. I'll put my email here for you. Or I guess you could just type in Steven@RagnarokNYC.com. We'll get in touch about getting you your gift card there. And of course, if you want to learn a little bit more about us, what do we do? How you doing? Just want to hear me speak over and over again, you can certainly reach out. My email's here, Steven@RagnarokNYC.com. Really looking forward to hearing some outreach from you.